The moon was high above the lagoon when Nwakaego slipped from her chamber. The palace was asleep. Only the quiet lapping of water against the coral walls kept her company. She moved like a shadow past the guards, past the moonlit courtyards where royal turtles dozed in shallow pools. She wore a cloak of deep indigo, the hood drawn low over her face. Beneath it, she clutched a woven pouch filled with cowries, dried starfish, and a small vial of her own blood, items old Emperor had once muttered about when speaking of forbidden rites. The midwife lived in the broken corner of the palace, near the servants' old quarters, exiled years ago for practicing medicine that the queen had outlawed. But Nwakaego remembered. She remembered how Emperor once healed a prince with black scales. How she'd whispered to the sea when thunder refused to stop. How even the palace guards still left food by her door. Now, Nwakaego stood before it. The door creaked open before she knocked. Inside, the room smelled of seaweed and salt, damp and old. Candles floated in shells, their flames dancing strangely as if bowing to some unseen force. Emperor sat hunched beside a cracked bowl of water, her grey hair falling around her like kelp. "I knew you'd come," she rasped, her voice like wind scraping stone. "You wear envy like perfume." Nwakaego stiffened. "I came for help." "No," Emperor smiled, teeth like broken pearls. "You came for power." Princess Nwakaego didn't answer. Instead, she knelt before the bowl, placing the pouch before Emperor with a shaking hand. "I want what belongs to Adesuwa, my sister." Emperor's eyes gleamed in the dim light. "Her beauty." Nwakaego nodded. "Her light." Nwakaego's voice trembled. "Yes." The old woman dipped her fingers into the bowl, and the water darkened instantly. "And her soul?" Nwakaego blinked. "What?" Emperor looked up, serious now. "Her glow is not just skin and scales. It is spirit. It is kindness. You can take it, but only if you give something in return." "What must I give?" The candles flickered. The water in the bowl began to swirl. Emperor's blind eyes blinked slowly, as though peering through the thick mist of time. She reached out, her wrinkled fingers lightly brushing Nwakaego's arm. "Child, you have made your choice." Nwakaego nodded, her heart thudding against her chest like the beat of distant drums. "To take her glow, you must bring me something of her," Emperor murmured, her voice low and strange. "Something living. Something true." Nwakaego leaned in. What do you mean?" A strand of her hair, the old woman whispered. "Fresh from her comb. Or cut by your own hands. It must still carry her essence, her warmth. Only then can we begin the ritual." Nwakaego swallowed. "That's all?" Emperor's fingers tightened around her wrist suddenly, with surprising strength. "No. That's not all." She lifted a small bracelet made of coral and dark shell beads. "This," she said, "will hold her beauty inside you. But you must never remove it. Not to bathe. Not to sleep. Not even if it burns you in your dreams. If you ever take it off, or lose even one bead, her glow will return to her." "And what happens to me?" Nwakaego asked, a tremble in her voice. Emperor slowly let go. "Then what you stole will rot inside you. And all will see the monster you truly are." Nwakaego's lips pressed together. "I'll be back by nightfall, with her hair." She turned away quickly, the bracelet now clutched tightly in her fist. Far behind her, Emperor whispered to herself. "Beauty taken by force never rests peacefully." As the palace gates came into view, Nwakaego walked with a calm face but a raging storm in her chest. The early morning light touched the golden domes and garden hedges of the palace, but she barely noticed. Her mind was wrapped tightly around the bracelet now hidden under her wide silk sleeve, the coral and dark shell beads that now hummed faintly against her skin. She didn't go straight to her chambers through the front gate. Instead, she took the narrow corridor by the side of the palace that led to her private entrance, sneaking in just before the servants began their morning rounds. Inside her chambers, she bolted the door, her breathing heavy. The moment she slipped into the bath, the warm scented water felt like a lie too peaceful for the evil she had just committed to. But she forced herself to relax, washing away the sweat and dust from the journey to Emperor's hut. Then she stood before her mirror, drying her skin slowly and watching herself. Was she already changing? No, not yet. She tied the bracelet securely to her wrist tight. The beads bit into her skin. She winced. "Let it hurt," she muttered. "Let it burn. If it means I'll finally be seen." A deep breath. Then, she draped her golden wrapper around her waist, slid on a velvet top, and tied her hair back. Her eyes glinted with purpose as she stepped out into the corridor, turning towards Princess Adesuwa's chambers. She knocked gently. From inside, Adesuwa's voice rang out, soft and musical. "Come in." Nwakaego stepped in, forcing a smile. The scent of rosewater still lingered in the air. Adesuwa stood before her large oval mirror, wrapped in a pale blue cloth, her damp hair hanging over her shoulders. Her dark skin glowed, her eyes bright and warm. Nwakaego's chest tightened. "Oh, sister," Adesuwa smiled, genuinely surprised. "You came?" "Yes," Nwakaego said, keeping her voice steady. I was passing by and thought I'd check on you. We've not really spent time together lately." Adesuwa turned fully toward her, nodding. "That's true. You've been distant." Then, a small hopeful laugh. "But I'm glad you came. I was just getting ready for breakfast." Nwakaego stepped closer. Her eyes darted quickly to the dressing table. A silver comb lay there beside some hairpins. "Let me help," Nwakaego said gently. Adesuwa blinked. "Help? Your hair. It's not sitting well in this style. May I?" Adesuwa smiled again, tilting her head in amusement. "Well, look who's suddenly become a hairdresser. You always said I fussed too much with it." "I've changed," Nwakaego murmured, already reaching for the comb. "Besides, you're my sister. Let me make you even more beautiful." Adesuwa chuckled softly and sat down, folding her hands in her lap. "I'm touched, honestly," she said. "You know, I always wanted us to be closer, but I guess you liked your space." Nwakaego's hand hesitated mid-air, heart thudding. "I was foolish," she said softly, beginning to comb through Adesuwa's thick curls. You've always been kind." Adesuwa closed her eyes, enjoying the moment. "And you've always been strong. People admire that." Tears pricked the corners of Nwakaego's eyes. But she blinked them away. Her fingers moved carefully through the strands until she found what she needed, a long, dark coil, still warm from her sister's scalp. Quietly, smoothly, she loosened the strand and let it fall into her sleeve. Just one. A piece of her beauty. A piece of her soul. "There," Nwakaego said finally, stepping back. "You look radiant." Adesuwa stood and hugged her. "Thank you, Nwaka. This means more than you know." But Nwakaego did not hug her back. Not fully. Her arms hovered, then dropped. Inside her sleeve, her fist curled around the strand of hair. The lie had begun. The palace was still quiet as Nwakaego stepped out of Adesuwa chambers. A thin mist curled around her tail. She clutched the strands of Adesuwa's hair like a sacred offering, her fingers trembling slightly. Emfa Hut stood exactly after the servants' quarters, hidden behind thick vines and flowering shrubs. Smoke curled from the small hole in the roof, carrying with it the scent of burning herbs and something more, metallic. Emfa sat cross-legged outside the hut, grinding a dark green leaf into a paste. Without looking up, she spoke. "You came faster than I thought." Nwakaego stood stiffly. "I have what you asked for. Please, we have to hurry before it's time for breakfast and they notice I am not around." Her voice was steady, but her throat was dry. Emfa raised her head slowly. Her eyes gleamed like firelight trapped in a bottle. Did she suspect? "No," Nwakaego replied, unwrapping the cloth and revealing the strands of hair. "She let me comb her hair herself. She even smiled at me." Emfa paused. "That's the danger of betrayal," she said softly. "It always cuts deeper when it comes with kindness." Nwakaego looked away, jaw clenched. Emfa reached out and took the strands. "Good. Very good. The bloodline in this hair is powerful, royal, pure, envied by even the spirits beneath the earth." She stood and gestured toward the hut. "Come. The ritual must begin immediately. You cannot remove that bead from your wrist until I say so. If you do, your beauty will not only fade, it will return to her, and the spirits will turn on you." Nwakaego hesitated. "Will it hurt?" Emperor chuckled darkly. "Only your conscience, my dear. Now come inside." The young princess stepped through the doorway, into the smoky darkness where glowing symbols pulsed on the walls, and bowls of strange powders sat arranged in circles. Tonight, the bond would be sealed. And when the morning of the next day come, Adesuwa's glow would be yours. The sun had barely risen, casting soft ripples of light across the palace lagoon when Princess Nwakaego returned from Emperor's hidden hut. She slipped into her chambers unnoticed, the strands of Adesuwa's hair no longer in her possession. Her heart thudded with a mix of guilt and anticipation, but her face remained composed. She quickly changed into a different outfit and adorned herself more than usual, lining her eyes with thick kohl and letting her intricate braids fall loosely around her shoulders. Soon, the royal gong sounded, calling the family to breakfast. The long coralstone table was laid out with carved platters of sea grapes, starfruit slices, smoked eel, and glistening pearl shell bread. King Izena sat at the head, his silver beard freshly oiled, flanked by Queen Ahuma, poised as ever, and the princesses on either side. Princess Adesuwa, always the first to greet everyone, offered a cheerful good morning. Her eyes sparkled as she settled beside Nwakaego. Princess Nwakaego, with a slight smirk, replied, "It's a very special morning, sister. Some of us are meant to shine brighter than ever before." Queen Ahuma raised a brow slightly but said nothing, slicing her fruit in calm silence. Adesuwa chuckled softly. "You look happy today. Did something special happen?" "Oh, nothing much," Nwakaego said airily, biting into a slice of sea apple. "Let's just say, by this time tomorrow, some people might find it hard to compete." The king grunted, sipping from his coral goblet. "Confidence is good, Nwakaego. But humility is the true crown of royalty." "Yes, father," she murmured, not meeting his eyes. After breakfast, as the family dispersed, Adesuwa approached Nwakaego near the lily pond. "Can we gist?" she asked gently. "There is an interesting book I am currently reading. I will like to tell you about it." Nwakaego looked at her for a moment, then busied herself with adjusting the coral bangles on her wrist. "I have a lot to do today. The servants need direction with the shell carvings, and I need to rest. Maybe later." Adesuwa's smile faltered. "All right. I'll find you later then." As Adesuwa walked away, her golden tail glimmering beneath the water, Nwakaego watched her silently, one hand resting protectively on the beaded wristband from Emperor. Later that day, Nwakaego lounged on the coral bench behind the royal garden, flanked by Sephia, Chinelo, and Habiba. The three friends whispered and giggled, their laughter sending tiny bubbles to the surface. By dawn, Nwakaego whispered smugly, "This face will not just be admired, it will be unforgettable." Sephia clapped her hands excitedly. Did Emperor already start the ritual?" "She's already preparing the final stage," Nwakaego replied. That hair was all she needed. "And guess what? Adesuwa made it easy for me," smiling like a fool, thinking I was helping her make her hair. Habiba raised a brow. "You're playing with big spirits, you know." Nwakaego shrugged. "And when I become the fairest in the sea, let the spirits talk." Chinelo leaned in, eyes wide. "Do you think she'll notice?" "She won't," Nwakaego said confidently. "But by tomorrow, everyone else will." The girls burst into another round of laughter, careless and loud. Just a few paces away, half hidden behind the flowering sea anemone hedge, Ngozi, the petite servant Princess Nwakaego had once humiliated during the public ceremony, paused while picking discarded coral shells. Her large, expressive eyes widened as she quietly listened, her heart thudding with a mix of fear and curiosity. By dawn, a strange silence blanketed the royal palace. The once radiant Princess Adesuwa sat quietly on her bed, staring into the mirror with trembling hands. Her glowing golden tail had dulled into a pale, almost translucent hue. Her skin had lost its shimmer, and the sparkle in her cat-like eyes had faded. Meanwhile, the entire palace buzzed with another kind of astonishment. Princess Nwakaego, who had always been plain in comparison, now shimmered like sunlight on the sea. Her tail had transformed into a brilliant golden hue, glowing softly as she walked. Her skin glistened, her braids looked fuller, and even her once sharp features seemed to soften with an otherworldly beauty. Gasps followed her every step as servants whispered, Nobles exchanged glances, and word quickly spread through the palace. It is as though Adesuwa's beauty was taken and given to her sister. At the royal hall, Queen Ihuma paced back and forth, worry lining her usually calm face. King Izena sat on his coral throne, staring at the floor with a storm behind his eyes. Adesuwa had not come out for breakfast. Queen Ihuma had gone to her chambers and found her curled up on the floor, weeping into her lap. "What is happening to me, Mama?" she sobbed, her voice barely a whisper. "My body feels strange, my tail, it's no longer mine." Queen Ihuma knelt beside her and held her tightly. "We will find out, my child. The gods bear witness to every secret." Later that evening, as Princess Nwakaego basked in the attention of the court and laughed with her friends Sephia, Chinelo, and Habiba, young Ngozi, the petite servant girl, stood silently at the corner of the hallway, eyes wide, clutching a tray. She had heard everything the night before. Every word of the cruel boast, every snicker, and every chilling promise of beauty by dawn. Her hands trembled. She remembered how Adesuwa always smiled at her, always offered kind words, always treated her like a person. She couldn't keep quiet anymore. That night, when she saw Adesuwa slip out of the grand hall, avoiding the eyes of others, Ngozi dropped everything and followed her to her chambers. Adesuwa was standing by her mirror, her face pale with disbelief. "Your Highness," Ngozi whispered from the doorway. Adesuwa turned, surprised but not unkind. "Ngozi, are you all right?" Ngozi stepped in, eyes welling up. I heard them. Last night. Princess Nwakaego and her friends. They were talking, about the hair, and something about a woman in the forest. I was too afraid to speak, but I think they did something to you." Adesuwa's lips parted, her breath caught in her throat. "A woman in the forest?" Ngozi nodded quickly. "They said by dawn she would be the most beautiful, and they laughed about how beauty can be stolen." Adesuwa sank into her seat, every piece finally falling together. "She took my hair. That morning, she insisted on helping me dress. I thought maybe she wanted to be close." Her voice cracked. "She betrayed me." Ngozi took her hand gently, tears running down her face. "Please forgive me for not speaking sooner." Adesuwa shook her head and gave her a faint, grateful smile. "No, Ngozi. You are brave. You spoke when no one else would." A flicker of fire returned to her eyes. "We must tell my parents." As soon as Adesuwa returned to the palace, her heart burned with betrayal. She stormed into the royal chambers, her once radiant beauty dimmed but her voice strong. "Mother, father, I know what happened to me. It was Nwakaego, she stole my glow." Gasps filled the royal chamber. Queen Ihuma stood, her face pale. "What are you saying?" Ngozi overheard Nwakaego and her friends plotting. "She took my hair strand and used it to steal my shine." Princess Nwakaego was immediately summoned to the throne hall. She arrived wearing a flowing coral gown, her stolen glow gleaming for all to see. She looked at Adesuwa with cold eyes. The king shouted, "What am I hearing about you being responsible for your sister's predicament? She's lying." Nwakaego shouted before the king could even speak. "She's jealous of me because the sea spirits finally chose me." "Silence," the king thundered. "We shall summon the Great Sear of the waters." The room went still. Moments later, the doors opened, and the Great Sear, an ancient merman with silver braids and glowing blind eyes, floated into the hall. His presence silenced even the palace guards. He placed a hand over Nwakaego's head, then over Adesuwa's, murmuring ancient chants. A swirling blue current rose around her. The lights dimmed. Suddenly, an image appeared in the water, Nwakaego and Mema Empha mixing the potion with Adesuwa's hair, laughing wickedly. Everyone gasped. "You dare lie before the throne," the queen wept. "Forgive me, mother, father," Nwakaego cried, collapsing to the floor. "I only wanted to shine for once in my life," the king's voice boomed. "For stealing from your own sister and using forbidden magic, you shall reap what you have sown." The Great Seer lifted her hands, and a surge of reversal magic shot out, striking Nwakaego. Her glow faded instantly. Her tail dulled into a muddy gray, her once pretty face distorted with blotches and wrinkles. Her hair turned dry and wild. "No," she screamed, flailing in the water. Her friends backed away in horror. "She's cursed," they cried. "She's no longer one of us." Within seconds, they swam off, leaving her alone and broken. From that day, Nwakaego became the laughingstock of the entire kingdom, mocked even by the sea urchins. No one wanted to be near her. Her beauty and pride had turned into shame and isolation. As for Adesuwa, her glow returned, brighter, warmer, and more radiant than ever. The people of the kingdom cheered her wherever she swam. Songs were composed about her heart, not just her beauty. She later made Ngozi her official companion, honoring the one who had spoken the truth when it mattered most. The Sea Kingdom learned an unforgettable lesson that day. True beauty cannot be stolen, it shines brightest when it comes from within.